Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to another edition of Danny and Stan's Football Weekend. It's presented by NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com. Make sure you go and check out Chad and his folks and get all your healthcare needs taken care of in a unique way. NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com. For that, visit them. Great guy, sports fans, and they'll really treat you right. So there's a simple message for you. Listen to the commercial here that comes right up, and you'll get all the information from Chad. And, of course, we're going to get all the football information from Stan after one of those bad old days weekends college-wise, where all the locals were handed it to them, and in non-competitive fashion, but still interesting things to dive into. But, of course, you knew the Chiefs were going to be there to bail out the weekend because they were taking on the New York Jets, and, frankly, the way they played, maybe it wouldn't have mattered who the heck they were playing. Patrick Mahomes was ready to put on a show, which he did. And we'll get into the reasons why the Jets decided that stopping the run was the most important thing on this particular day. But that's another question for another day. We'll see if Stan has some recipes for the locals bouncing back. Maybe in the case of Kansas, that's impossible. But the other teams feel like they have a lot of things still to play for after a rough Saturday around our local college football scene. It's all part of Danny and Stan's Football Weekend. It comes your way next, and it's presented by NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Silver medalist from the Prism Awards from last week. Thanks to them, and nice to win something. That's always cool. And we'll be back with Stan next.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
It's time now to get some great assistance on healthcare with Chad Beisel from NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com. And Chad, even your business's name would indicate that you have a real aggressive way and an important way to go after some health insurance for your clients.
What I've found out in the industry is just a lot of people are really confused. They don't know what plans are good, what their plans offer, how they cover. And so I've just taken the approach of being really educated on what options are available to clients and showing them all the options that are available and making sure they understand them so they can pick and choose what options are good for them.
And one thing that's really important, of course, is access to doctors and hospitals.
Absolutely. That's becoming a big issue for a lot of people. Some of the plans out there are going to restrict those clients to where they can and cannot go. So if you live just outside the Kansas City metro, some of the counties outside, you may not be able to go to some of the hospitals up here in the Kansas City area. So making sure that you have a plan that's got doctors and hospitals and places you want to go is really, really important today.
Learn more by visiting NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com and let Chad help you. It's time to visit once again with Dr. Brad Woodle of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. And Dr. Brad, your group has reached a significant milestone in terms of receiving a prestigious award.
We have been honored for the 10th year in a row to receive the 5-Star Service Award by Integrity Doctors. We're just thrilled about that. And what that means is that we are guaranteed to give you excellent service. We're going to treat you like family, and we're going to make sure we do a very thorough evaluation and a care plan to get you well. We have 5 locations, and we're soon opening our 6th. So we are in Olathe, Overland Park, Prairie Village, Belton, Lee Summit, and soon to be Blue Springs.
And I know firsthand about those great services. I come to the location in Overland Park. And for more information and your chance for a healthier way of life, make sure to visit asfca.com/Danny today.
Hi, everybody. This is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. I just want to thank everybody for supporting local restaurants during this time of uncertainty. 23rd Street Brewery is now open until this pandemic is over. And right now, more than anything, local restaurants need your help and support. Come on out and see us. 23rd Street Brewery is open now from 11:30 till 9 o'clock for dine-in and carry-out. Whatever we can do to help you out, maybe with your catering needs, too. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for continuing to shop local.
Most of us have experienced auto accidents, and it's no fun. And even less fun is trying to work on the insurance aspects afterwards and getting full value after an auto accident. I'm here with David Cowan from WreckExpert.com. And David, you have an unusual and important niche for people after an auto accident.
We have a passion to teach car wreck clients what they deserve. Getting your car repaired only fixes the damage and the paint. Getting paid for your car's loss in value is called diminished value. Chances are you've never heard of this before because most people aren't looking out for you. We help people collect thousands to tens of thousands of dollars for their car's loss in value after the wreck.
And if somebody wants to come to you for that, what's the original assessment cost them?
We offer a free review of any insurance claim to see how we can help.
You can't beat that. Great expertise and assistance in getting full value after an auto accident from David Cowan. Visit recexpert.com and learn more.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Stan, let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's all smiles there. I will give the New York Jets a little bit of credit to start off. You always talk about how it's the National Football League, and people, are these are good football players, even if the Jets are the worst team in the NFL. And the Jets, to their credit, came out with a little spice. I mean, they were trying, and if they were kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns, but they controlled the football in the first half. They had it for over 17 minutes. They played with some energy. And if a normal, average NFL quarterback was playing for the opponent, the Jets were probably going to be right in that football game.
Yes, I thought, Danny, you mentioned it well. These are NFL teams, and I know they're the worst team in the National Football League with no wins, and Adam Gase does not seem to have them going in the right direction. But you can't write these teams off that they can't play at all. I think the quotes from Patrick Mahomes after the game, some of the players before, obviously lavish too much praise on the opponent. That's what they're supposed to do. But really, if you give them a break and listen to the Chiefs players, they're right. It isn't easy when you go out there and look at the guys who look like you, and if they were on your team, would be functioning at a high level. There's a continuity, a teamwork, and a coaching ability. All those things make a big difference. So I thought the Jets gave it a good chance, and not surprising. They're on the big stage with the Chiefs, Super Bowl champs over there. Sam Darnold, they made plays to keep the drive alive. Even if it was only a 7-yard completion, that's a big deal. He didn't turn over the football, and they had to settle for field goals. I mean, that was the thing that made the difference for the Chiefs, and it's the reason why I predicted the Jets would end up with 6 points. They ended up with 9. But if you watch them play, they could have got a touchdown here or there and been into the teens and at least made it interesting in the first half. So I thought the Chiefs had to play. They didn't pull their starters at halftime. It's not a preseason game. I thought it was a very representative football game. For the worst team in the league against the best, it was very watchable.
And the Chiefs had to convert some difficult third downs to keep drives going. These touchdown drives weren't all that easy. They faced a 3rd and 13, a 3rd and 15. Now, in those cases, it seemed like it was easy money to Travis Kelce. And, you always have to pick out somebody that you're going to try and stop. And teams seem to make job one Tyreek Hill. But in this case, they seem to make job one stopping the run. Now, maybe Greg Williams figured, well, we're going to lose anyway, so I'm not going to let Le'Veon Bell have any fun. And he didn't have any fun on the ground. He's 6 carries for 7 yards. The Chiefs are having trouble running the football in standard, regular football plays, but that matters so little. But still, the conversions by Patrick Mahomes are magical. He had one of those days. He can have one of those days. He hadn't been having those days because he'd just been allowing other things to play out. But yesterday, when they needed some magic, he was there.
Yeah, 5 touchdown passes, and some of them, as you say, are really more like handoffs that count as touchdown passes nowadays. But still, the underhand throw that he had to Kelce, I mean, he makes it look so easy, but if you're a defender, you don't know what happened. You don't even think he's throwing the ball, and all of a sudden Kelce, standing with a pack of people around him, it seemed like, goes, oh, okay, now I got it. I'll walk in the end zone 2 steps. And they got off to a quick start. Hand it to the Chiefs. They didn't sleepwalk. They went right down the field, scored, looked efficient, and said, hey, Jets, we're better than you. But I thought the Jets' defense fought very hard, put the Chiefs in situations where they had to make plays. And then when you get into the philosophy, we've seen everybody stand back and let the Chiefs run. And I think you look at Greg Williams as a defensive coordinator. He's a very emotional guy. I mean, I think he cares about the human part of the game, and maybe you're onto something. Maybe he didn't want to see Le'Veon Bell get off and make yards, so we're going to stuff the run. Plus, he might think that the Chiefs may expect the Jets to play back, play soft, have 4 guys around Tyreek Hill, and then run the ball every down. So he's going, let's assume they're going to run the ball. Let's get up and stop the run. The Jets' defense is okay. It's just that their backs to the wall all game long, and sooner or later you're going to break through. But I just thought the Jets, they put an NFL effort out there. They made the Chiefs play, and Patrick Mahomes was magical again. If you're going to give him shots downfield, he's going to find them. He's going to take them, and it's amazing the accuracy with which he throws. How often do you watch even good NFL quarterbacks miss a guy by 3 feet or 2 inches, bounces off his fingertips? It seems like he's putting the ball on the numbers deep downfield like it's no big deal. It's amazing. I mean, Patrick Mahomes continues to play magically.
We're spoiled, obviously, but I think people should, enjoy what's going on. I think they do, and I think the fans really do. When you're looking at it with a more analytical eye, you're looking for things that, don't just make you smile and giggle, but Patrick Mahomes is being, I think, taken a little bit for granted around the league, too. With Russell Wilson, I think Russell Wilson deservedly heading into this weekend was the MVP leader, but he threw 3 interceptions in his last game. Mahomes only has 1 all year. I think it'd be a shame if people just assume that Mahomes is not going to be in this race for MVP, not that it really matters that much.
No, but what's deserved is deserved. I mean, you'd hate to have his own standards be held against him. It's like a Michael Jordan. He averaged only 28 points a game, not 32. I mean, it's under the 30-point mark. No, he's putting together a great season. In fact, Travis Kelce did a great job as a leader last week, coming out and saying, I made some mistakes that are unacceptable. And in fact, says he's the guy who caused the 1 interception. Otherwise, you'd have 0 right now. It's pretty amazing. So, yeah, Patrick Mahomes definitely needs to be in the mix right now. We saw a little more of Lamar Jackson of what we've stated, that when he has to pass, he's going to be in the pocket, and he's got to win from the pocket, and the team's behind, it usually doesn't turn out well. So you've got to mark him off the list of saying he's in a race with Patrick Mahomes to win the MVP. Now, Russell Wilson is in a unique situation because he's got the Chiefs' defense of 2018, 2017, whenever it was that every game was a high-scoring game. I mean, Russell Wilson is on a team where he has to make tons of plays. So it really looks like the whole game's on his back. Patrick Mahomes, though, he'll rise more and more as we come up the stretch, or down the stretch they go, as you say. As Patrick Mahomes continues the Chiefs winning and they are posting the best record or the next best record, wherever they're going to end up with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think their love's going to come back toward him. And the good news is he didn't win it last year. I think the voters at some point don't want to just keep writing the same name in. And it was Lamar Jackson, not him. So really, you could have argued, why didn't he get more consideration last year? I think there'll be a good push. We talk like this is the Heisman or something, but all that stuff matters, when you make your push and what your featured plays are. I think he's going to be right back in the race. And Russell Wilson so far deserves a ton of credit because he's been really good this year.
Just on another quarterback note, because that's enough of that game. We'll talk about Carolina. Can you get a sense what Sam Darnold, for instance, as a quarterback might be if he had been given a different situation? I'm not even saying Andy Reid's situation. Clearly he's not Patrick Mahomes. Okay, I'm not trying to say that if they switch sides, the results would be, exactly opposite. But do you have a sense of what he could be as a quarterback when you're watching him play for the Jets?
Just a little bit. I think you can if you had a 1 to 10 range, maybe let's go 1 to 12 and say, are you a 12-win quarterback or a 0-win quarterback? And you can put your fingers apart in whatever you want, an inch, and say a quarterback probably covers 4 or 5 games differential, and then you say, what is his situation? I think it does matter how long a quarterback's a starting quarterback or the featured quarterback at a program. It does matter, and with the Jets, Darnold doesn't have much chance. But I do not put his range like he's near 0 now. He could probably be involved with a 9-win team. He's not in a dominant state at all. He's just another quarterback given a chance to be a starter in the NFL that will cycle out. And if he played for a better team, could have stayed longer and done a few more things. Obviously he'd look better with the Chiefs and everything else. But no, there's no magic to Sam Darnold. He's just an NFL quarterback out there fighting, and really he actually plays better, I think, when the pressure's off. Now the pressure's off. Everyone acts like the pressure's on him, but it's not. They're awful. No one expects anything, and I thought he handled that very well. Like, when you don't expect anything, you start making the simple plays. When you make the simple plays, you give your team a chance to compete. Alex Smith. I mean, Alex Smith could run well. He's a coordinated guy. He wants to win, but I think at some point in his career, after they messed with him by changing coordinators and head coaches and all the stuff that went along, at some point he just said, if it's 3rd and 5 and there's a guy open for 7 yards, I'm going to gain 7 yards. Well, that's not right. If Tyreek Hill's downfield at 35 yards open, you got a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes throws the ball downfield and you're dancing in the end zone. That's why he's elite. But at least to be a chance, give your team a chance to win, complete the 7-yarder and keep the ball moving. And I thought Sam Darnold has kind of accepted that. He looked comfortable in his own skin. I generally was thumbs up on him about being an average quarterback because people are talking about him moving on now. He went from being a franchise quarterback to everyone saying Trevor Lawrence is going to be the new Jets quarterback, and probably they want to move Sam Darnold on and not have all that payroll associated with him in addition to the rookie contract they have with Trevor Lawrence. So if all that's true, he'll give it another shot, and he'll be out there fighting with his team. Late in the season they have 6 or 7 wins, hoping to win a couple more and go to the playoffs. There's so many guys like him in the NFL. I hate to cut him down because how lucky would you be to be one of the 32 best in the world at something
at what you
as
do,
elite as a quarterback, but he's not going to be scary to go win Super Bowls.
Let's talk a little bit about the Panthers and kind of a trap-ish game for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are playing against their own standard. They've talked about that a lot, but they have the bye following it, and then there's some marquee games to follow. Panthers are playing okay football, so probably a game that the Chiefs sort of have to watch out for, looking ahead. I don't know how much these days and these times that guys usually in the bye, they might go to the beach or something. I don't know if they do that now during COVID, but probably a game that the Chiefs have to pay a little bit more attention to make sure they pay attention.
I agree, and because it's an NFC foe that doesn't catch your attention, Carolina early in the year probably had a little more spice on it, but we haven't seen Christian McCaffrey, the fantasy football player that's the number 1 pick for most fantasy drafts, hasn't been playing for a while, and he's really a dynamic player. But then you go back and look, and he's averaging just barely over 3 yards a carry, so it's not as if it's been easy and he's been everything. Supposedly, if he'll be healthy this week, it'll give him a chance. Teddy Bridgewater is the kind of quarterback that, again, puts you right in the middle of everything. But if he has a good game, things can go well. So I do think this is emotionally and mentally, this is about the Chiefs, and I could see them letting down a little bit. It just gets a little tiring after playing what they did to stay up and ready for the teams that they're way favored on, and especially when they're human beings. That next week off is kind of the only week off. But you look back, and the Jets week was kind of a week off. I mean, mentally, it wasn't like I can go see my kids or my parents, I'm going to leave town, all those kind of things. But let's really focus, guys. Let's really focus. And I think they did. They played the Jets with respect. But now they're going to have to do it again. Then a week off. And then finally they get to go to Vegas. Finally they get to get a game that sparks a rivalry and let's go again. When you get in a month-long period of time where you're trying to, hit the adrenaline button somewhere, like, come on, respect the game. Come on, Pittsburgh's undefeated. You find some reason to play. I just think the Chiefs at some point this week could likely be where they just go play, don't go down the field on the first drive and score. And if you do that with Carolina and mess around, it could end up being close. We've seen this even with Patrick Mahomes' years. Sometimes someone comes in here and you go, how did they lose that game? It can happen. That could happen. So with the next week being an off week, I think the Chiefs are really going to have to stay focused and push through this last week, because I think in their mind, the month of late October, Halloween into early November, it's like, tell us when the season starts again in mid-November, including what could be a vacation. And it could cause some personal stress because a lot of guys know their routine. Like, we're going to go to Mexico for 3 days. And this time you got to ask yourself the question, like, well, what should we do? What can we do? How safe is it? I mean, that's distracting right there. There could be a lot of that talk this week with their family, friends, wives, girlfriends. Like, well, could we do that? Is that really going to be safe? Is that going to be cool? I think their personal lives are going to come into play this week because it's hard not to get spring fever. What do they call it? Senioritis, at the end of a high school year?
Yes.
My wife teaches some high school, and she says when it gets to late April, it's hard to keep everyone's attention. And this is kind of the late April for the Chiefs. Absolutely.
Well, speaking of focus, the focus for our local college teams wants to shift badly away from last Saturday because it was not pretty across the board. We'll check in on that and see what the teams can do to bounce back. Coming up next on Danny and Stan's Football Weekend.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, you had a great year in 2019, a record year. 2020 comes, things are moving smoothly along, and then the coronavirus comes. But your company seemed to be very ready, very proactive, and very ready to serve your customers well.
Yeah, we adopted social distancing very early before the cities even put out the notices. And we started working from home. We are largely cloud-based as a company, so that transition was easy. Our technicians are wearing masks and gloves, and salespeople are not meeting with homeowners. We're doing everything digitally and doing everything we can to do our part to get over this as quickly as possible.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Visions' goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300. I'm here with Tim Emerson, the owner of Emerson & Company. And Tim, give us an idea of the range of services that you provide from Emerson & Company.
At Emerson & Company, we do credit card processing, payroll services. We do bookkeeping, merchant accounts like point-of-sale systems.
What would you say differentiates you from other companies in the field, and what makes you special?
I think what makes us unique is that we're a small local business making regional decisions on companies. We create a profile for the business and then put it out to our different vendors in a very competitive environment and tailor those needs to the specific business, which usually ends up in a great fit or great result for the company.
And, of course, the idea is to save money, right?
Save money, and actually sometimes I'm surprised where actually a solution that may cost a little bit more ultimately does save money, but we're not conditioned to think like that sometimes.
Emerson & Company. Check them out at emerson-co.com or call them at 816-360-9092. Firsthand, I have enjoyed the benefits of the CBD products from Canaway. My back feels better and better these days, as a major part of my routine are the pain-relieving salve and the Pure Gold oil. And recently, I had the pleasure of a treatment session using the Canaway CBD in conjunction with the Microlight 830 cold laser. The non-invasive treatment session worked wonders, and I could barely tell I was even being touched. TML 830 is the first 3B cold laser to get FDA approval, and in addition, the combination treatment with CBD is patent pending. The new Smart Laser is the only hands-free cold laser in the world and is used by athletic trainers, chiropractors, MDs, physical therapists, and veterinarians everywhere. You can learn more about all the great benefits from the complete line of Canaway CBD products by contacting my friend Sherry McCants at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312 to get outstanding information about Canaway. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkScale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Back with Stan, and it was not pretty, Stan, and all three of our college teams lost and lost big. And I guess if I was going to rate the performance based on the team, that Kansas probably was the best team of the bunch. No, they didn't. You know, I had a friend text me, Jayhawks look better today. I said, yeah, but this is how bad it is. They lost by 30. They didn't cover a 4-touchdown spread, and they did look better. Now, West Virginia,
Iowa
State got a late touchdown. They wanted to get some work for their quarterback, so they let him play instead of just running out the clock. So it was another bad beat in the Kansas game.
They may have known what the spread was. It looked like they knew what the spread was because they scored 2 times near the end of the game.
But anyway, Kansas, the game was never in play, but, they fought. They were kind of in it. It was only a 13-point spread at halftime. So entering the second half, they were in the ball game. Now, Iowa State quickly took care of that. But by their own standards, it was okay.
Definitely was. Finding a quarterback that they believe in and is healthy and is young and up and coming is a big step forward. Not to the way that Les Miles, is trying to paint the picture really rosy, but what choice does he have?
Right.
We're going to get this done this year. We're going to get things together. But it is a big step to not wonder, are we still going to believe that Thomas McVitie is going to be the guy and take us the rest of the way when he's healthy? What about Miles Kendrick? He's been forced into action. Maybe he can gain a spark. No, they know it's Jalen Daniels. He looks the part the best. He's had some success, and now the team can rally around him. I don't know. He limped off the field late in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of factor that's going to be because, remember, he got hurt against Oklahoma State, and that kept him out a week or so. He did not play the West Virginia game. So the injury factor is the real question mark as they move forward to play Oklahoma, an Oklahoma team I think that's got a purpose. I think that they believe they can still get back into the championship game and can sort things out and are the best team, know how to be the best team, and all that kind of stuff. I think the team's pulling together. So I don't think Oklahoma will just be so lackluster that Kansas, hey, Kansas leads 10-7 at the end of the first quarter. You've heard that score. I've heard that for 50 years where stuff like that's happened, where Oklahoma just isn't concentrating and those kind of things. But I thought Kansas put a solid effort together. They were not overly demoralized by losing to K-State and then just lay down and say the season's over. So, yeah, it was a good performance. It's unfortunate the little things they shoot themselves in the foot, right? You miss a field goal right before the half, or you're right there in the game. You have momentum, you scored your 10th point, and here we go. That just kind of summarized the day. You played well in the first half, and you miss a short field goal, and you still have to limp into the locker room knowing Iowa State's better than you and all those things.
They get the ball and they score.
Yeah, it was just very demoralizing, and those are the kind of things that have happened to them. They drove the ball against K-State very well, held the ball a long time, nice solid drive, and then the ball boinks off the upright for another missed field goal. And those kind of things are happening, and when you lose games, it seems like that happens more and more. So they just need to get out from underneath that. It's not the best week for that because Oklahoma, I think, got purpose. OSU lost. K-State lost. They're right in the middle of the race again.
And it's a 2:30 game, so not the sleepy 11 o'clock time. So Kansas and Oklahoma this week. And Kansas State, I think you can't just say that, okay, all the things that they did well, they didn't do well enough, and it's that fine a margin. This had to lean more toward a worse day at the office than that. I mean, if somebody wanted to be simple about it, they're like, well, Kansas State has to check off every one of these boxes or they're going to get killed. I don't think that's the case, but in this case, they doubled down on it. They didn't just not do the things that they usually do. They did bad things that they don't usually do, too.
No doubt. I mean, interceptions, they had 3 interceptions in the game. Wow. Colin Klein threw 3 interceptions against Baylor in 2012. That's the last time a quarterback's done that. So K-State doesn't make those kind of mistakes. West Virginia is a good football team, well coached, and they have good balance across their team. A good running back in Letty Brown, a big, strong offensive line, a ton of very fine receivers. And then a defense that's just knock them dead, starting with what you love, a front wall that's big and strong, just stuffs the run. And then the defenders, the other 7, not only can play against the pass, which we've talked about as a formula, they can back up 2 steps. They don't even get close to the line of scrimmage. Everything's in front of them, so they're always running forward and hitting you hard because the big guys up front even control the running game and obviously can pass rush. So West Virginia has not allowed anybody to get more than 350 total yards in a game this year.
That's amazing.
So they just squeeze the life out. If you don't take care of every advantage, then you're going to be in trouble against West Virginia. So I'm making them out to be the greatest team ever. Why does West Virginia lose? Well, let's go back. The receivers have the dropsies. Overall, when you look at the games that they played this year, they've dropped a lot of passes on 3rd down or in the end zone. It could have been touchdowns. It really hurt the team because most of the games are going to be close. It's like the NFL. Daigie's a good quarterback, but he'll make a mistake once in a while, miss somebody. And then they're the worst penalized team in the league. Okay, that's how West Virginia somehow ends up losing a couple of games. They basically lost by 10 points against West Virginia, against Oklahoma State on the road in a very even game, and they blew it against Texas Tech. That's it, okay? So what did West Virginia do this game? Almost no penalties, no bad throws by Daigie, and then did all those things on defense that they've been doing all year. So then you start going down the K-State list and say, well, they had the ball at the 2-yard line in a 0-0 game, 1st and goal on a 2 on a nice drive, didn't score a touchdown. How big was that? Well, in the whole scheme of the day, now knowing, it was giant. Having a 7-0 lead instead of just being stopped at the goal line and juicing the West Virginia players up and holding it to a field goal, made a big difference. But West Virginia was good. K-State did not play with the excellence that they normally do. They do have a freshman quarterback. It wasn't a great matchup. They've already lost 4 straight to West Virginia, make it 5. They lost 2 straight there and haven't scored more than 20 points in any of the 3 games now. They have 3 straight losses at West Virginia. So maybe it's some matchup things and all of that, but you can go anywhere you want on the spectrum and say, point to that, and I'll probably have a reason to agree with you. Offense, defense. Special teams didn't make any mistakes, but they only had 1 good kickoff return, didn't dominate. K-State had turnovers, pick 6 against them, missed field goal, punts that, the 2 different punters come in, and no punt was longer than 36 yards. I mean, not even once did the ball get hit off the foot. You'd think one time of the punts someone would hit it. 40 yards is not a big deal, Danny. I mean, it's that kind of day. You come up short on a 52-yard field goal. You don't punt the ball more than, I think, 36 yards the whole game. And you go down the list, and suddenly you say, West Virginia had control of the game completely. And they sure didn't make the mistakes. That combination meant a win for West Virginia. Now, the question for K-State is, does that affect what goes into next week? Because the opponent's even better as they get ready for Oklahoma State.
And what are the keys in that one? I mean, K-State's mindset, I wouldn't think would be an issue. I don't think they're not the type of team to let 1 loss turn into 2. But, what strategically are they good enough if they play not great? I mean, they were really getting every detail taken care of. Mm-hmm. And do they have to do that against Oklahoma State?
Well, they probably do, because Oklahoma State hits you in so many ways, from a running game to a dual-threat quarterback who's doing fine as a sophomore, a superstar wide receiver in Tylan Wallace. Texas had no answer for him. I mean, how did OSU lose that game? They must be pounding their heads against the wall. They whipped Texas. When I get the tape out and watch it this week, Danny, I'll just be watching play after play where Oklahoma State's way better than Texas. But then little funky stuff happens, like a fumble right before the half leads to an easy Texas field goal, and they give up a kickoff return for a touchdown when they had the game in hand, and 4th down plays. And then Sam Ehlinger played well for about 2 minutes in the game. He looked like Sam Ehlinger right at the end on a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and it was enough. So Oklahoma State's really solid, but it's not easy for them to come to Manhattan. It just hasn't been.
Right.
They haven't always looked like themselves. I mean, Tyreek Hill came to Manhattan, not that long ago, and they gave the ball to him almost every play, and K-State won and had control of the game. How is that possible? You think about Tyreek Hill having all these touches. So K-State's going to need a little bit of that. Like, how do you win at home against OSU? I don't know, but we find a way. Kind of like K-State losing to West Virginia. How do they find a way to lose 5 straight to West Virginia? There's 100 different stories there, but wow. So you're going to need a little bit of that. And Tylan Wallace cannot hurt you on 3rd down. He can get his catches, but if it's 1st and 10, he gets a 15-yard throw. You know what? Doesn't matter. It's just a 1st down. But if it's 3rd and 4 and he makes a great catch, oh, crap, he just kept the drive alive. So you're going to have to keep the quarterback from running in critical situations, keep the 3rd down conversions down for Tylan Wallace, a lot of pressure on the defense. And then on the offensive side, you're going to have to mix offense and special teams together and say the 2 of them combined are going to have to find field position scoring and those kind of things. So OSU's definitely the favorite. I mean, they're a good team. K-State's, Skylar Thompson's not out there. No cut down to Will Howard. He's doing fine. But Skylar Thompson had so much experience that every blitz you brought, every look you gave, he would throw the ball as soon as he got the snap. It didn't matter what the offensive line did. He could throw that ball accurately on the run to someone 4 or 5 yards downfield. They fall forward for 7 or maybe get 12, and he keeps the drive alive. Every completion now is work because so many people got to do so many things right. The line, the quarterback, the receivers, and everything else. With Skylar, he pretty much just said, I can deliver the ball to a receiver so accurately that you and I could catch it, Danny. It's like, oh, that was pretty easy. I got 3 yards now. What am I going to do? They're going to kill me. But you fall forward, you get 5 or 6, and that's what K-State's offense was, reliability. And right now, it's just a little off on that reliability. It's a fact of life. But, man, before we go away from this podcast, what happens if K-State wins, Danny?
Right.
I mean, you think about last week so often, right? That's such a big part of our lives.
Just 1 loss.
What do we call this? Danny and Stan's weekend.
Football weekend.
Football weekend. I mean, you can't help but say, wow, West Virginia really had control of that game. But if K-State wins and beats Oklahoma State, they're in first place.
Right.
And they'll have a head-to-head against OSU and Oklahoma. So they're that far away. You need magic. Yes, they're the underdog. They're going to have some things happen their way. But OSU has not played flawless football every down of the game. Again, how did they lose to Texas? Wow. Everything on the outskirts had to go perfect because down after down, OSU whipped Texas. So you're going to have some of that magic to get the win, no doubt about it, for K-State.
No magic from Missouri, and the disappointing thing, I mean, this is a ball game right to the end of the first half, and then they make a couple of mistakes, and Florida capitalizes on them. But the disappointing part is they just couldn't do anything on offense. I mean, the offense that had been humming along and looking really good, they couldn't run the football. Basilek looked ordinary. I mean, Florida, which had not been a very good defensive team and was missing a lot of players on the defensive side of the ball, including 3 important defensive backs, just made Missouri look inept.
Well, Florida played to the way they're supposed to play. I mean, they're supposed to be elite on defense, and it was so jagged in that first half. It didn't look like Missouri was right on Florida, but then I wasn't necessarily saying Florida's dominating, just waiting for something to happen. And unfortunately, what happened was a distraction. Dan Mullen, in a weird way, I just think if it were the NFL, how much could they fine this guy for causing a big fight like that? I mean, it appeared to me one guy caused all the havoc. It's the head coach who ran out and started complaining as demonstrative, running toward the other sideline. He might have been running to the middle of the field, but it looks like running the other sideline. If it would have been 2 minutes left in the half, he would have stayed on the sideline. There would have been a penalty. There would have been some pushing and shoving from the players, and that would have been that. But the way it all sequenced out, he is you don't like a coach who gets the technical and then gets everything going, the crowd, the officials, the team. It's like he went out and got the biggest technical foul ever, because you should not be out there going after an official at the half. You should not be talking that way to the opponent's coach, and you should not be starting a fight and then celebrating it. As he goes in the locker room,
right,
he comes back out of the tunnel to get the crowd riled up a little bit more. Oh, guess what? It all worked. I mean, and then he puts a Darth Vader uniform on as a Halloween costume, and that's how he did his post-game press conference. So, I mean, he was all over the board. It was a wild and crazy Dan Mullen, but at the end of the day, he just sucked the life out of Mizzou and somehow energized Florida. The whole second half, you're going, okay, Florida's going to win this game. There should have been more of a focus in the second half of what's going to happen, more intrigue. But once he ran in the locker room and had all those stunts that I would not promote at all, it kind of worked, and there went Florida. And I don't know what happened to Missouri, how they got shaken, but maybe it's he couldn't move the ball very well. The second half was so weird after a weird first half, and I just don't know how this is going to play out for Mizzou because they get a week off.
Right.
And you got Georgia, but you get Georgia at a good time because Georgia and Florida play this week.
Right.
And they're going at it for the East title. Don't be talking about the Missouris or the Tennessees of the world. It's for a chance for the college football playoff. It's everything. In this game's Georgia versus Florida. There will be a hangover effect from Georgia, no matter what, when they play Missouri. And Missouri needs to pounce and take advantage of that because Georgia's going to watch a ton of Mizzou tape. It's going to be subconsciously, right? They're going to watch Florida. Their last game is the most important. And they're just going to down after down respect Florida and say, we're going to have to play well to beat these guys and diminish what Missouri is.
Right.
So their version of the Missouri Tigers is going to be, geez, Florida just pounded them. So I think it's going to set up well for Missouri to strike and fight, and I think Coach Drinkowitz will use this time to set it up. After the Georgia game, Missouri has a real chance to finish with some wins, but you don't want to get stuck in the mud right now.
Right.
You don't want to lose, take a week off, and then have something. If Georgia really came in and smashed the Tigers, it'd be a long time before they got to make that next run. And, oh, by the way, Arkansas is not the bums they've been the last few years. They're playing better. So, I think it'll be a chance against Georgia, a time to go lick your wounds. I was surprised. I thought Missouri would be right in the game all game long. I was really surprised. Maybe it's a compliment to Florida that they stepped up and played as well as they did.
Certainly a star-crossed weekend, but the Chiefs are providing smiles each and every week, and probably the worst weekend is going to be when the Chiefs have the bye.
I was just thinking that. I was thinking, like, what a bummer that the Chiefs – I'm already a little bummed. I don't want a bye week.
Yeah.
I mean, can we just – Can we have a feature game like Seahawks versus Chiefs for fun or something? A Super Bowl preview if some people think Seattle's going to be there. No, Danny, the NFL's been so good. And yesterday, as we do this on a Monday, wow, the NFL was great. I mean, there were 8 games on at noon, And because the Chiefs game mattered to me, I mean, that was nationally, you'd say that was a dud game. Who cares? Right. I would have not watched 3 plays of it if I were living, in Oklahoma City or something, or maybe further away. But because I was enjoying that game and watching it, I had 8 games I was tracking. I had intrigue in every one of them. We're midway through the NFL year. They've done a great job with COVID. They're bringing it. I mean, I wish there were more fans in the stands to give a little more energy and get rid of the fake noise. But, man, it was enjoyable. And led by, did the Chiefs uniforms just look more red than ever yesterday with the sun out in Kansas City in November? It was just beautiful to see the Chiefs out there. I'm bummed, Danny. Less than 2 weeks, I'm not going to get to watch the Chiefs play.
Well, at least there were other games. I missed it. I wanted to just get your thoughts on one more pro football thing to wrap it up. Have you ever seen a team with a more incredible knack for blowing games than the San Diego Chargers? They did it again. I mean, they could literally be tied with the Chiefs in the division. They've lost 4 games with a double-digit lead. They lose on the last play of the game. They get every bad break in the book. One call goes your way. I mean, Anthony Lynn is probably going to pay the price for an I hope he's not a man of faith, because his faith would certainly be tested right now, because nothing seems to go right, and no lead is safe for the Chargers. What is that like as a football team, do you think?
Here we go again. Midway through the fourth quarter, you start looking around, and you think nothing good's going to happen, and you're the one who causes the issues sometimes. Confidence is such a big deal. It's such a fine line game, but, boy, there's even worse. There's no Phillip Rivers to lean on. I mean, around here, we are quick. I think Kevin Keatsman just pounded in our head enough about Phillip Rivers is the whole problem. The whole problem. He's always going to lose, but he's not on the Chargers this year. I mean, you cannot say. And then you got Herbert. A lot of people love him. I did not love him going into this season. He's doing better than I thought. But now, if you're excited about him and he's the difference maker and he's the franchise, same old, same old. I mean, wow. How did Denver come back in that game? I mean, it's not like they had 75,000 fans just roaring and taking them over. It's hardly.
Drew Lock did a good.
It's unbelievable.
He missed some throws again, but he's got that old phrase. He's got moxie. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
If he's got nothing else.
We knew that
moxie.
Because when we talked about the development of his career, we talked about. Doesn't mean I have to be right, but I thought and believed at the time that he went in too early as a freshman, and you got to be careful that you don't stop the development stage. You set someone off to the side and don't keep him up on a movement uphill. He bounced off that and acted like that never happened. Even if it's true, he either has the moxie to fight through it, which I think is what he did. He got put in a bad situation and just said, I'm not going to go down that path. I'm better than this, and kept going. And that's kind of like the game yesterday.
Right.
I mean, he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not in the same league, but still, what a big win. What a giant comeback. But it's more about the Chargers. And the Chargers get the number 1 seed of don't ever think they're going to win. They're going to do something wrong, because the Falcons actually won on Thursday night. Remember, they were the best of all time, maybe, but they actually won the game on Thursday night against Carolina. So now Carolina's looking around going, not even the Falcons won't fold for us? What's going on? Christian McCaffrey, savior. That's what they're probably saying in the Carolinas right now. I'm glad to see him back, because I want to see the best players in the NFL. I want to see the best players compete like they will with the Chiefs. But as a straight-out fan, you'd probably say, I wish Christian McCaffrey doesn't play and the Chiefs roll. But I have so much confidence in the Chiefs. I'm looking for a little competition. He'll keep it interesting.
Stan, always a pleasure, and we don't have a Chiefs bye next week, so we'll be able to talk Chiefs next week.
Okay. Thanks, Danny. That's a better way of saying it. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
NoNonsenseHealthcareNinja.com, specializing in expert healthcare guidance and assistance for you.